Hey, welcome everybody. A little different stream tonight. First off, it's Monday, not Tuesday. I'm teaching a class tomorrow, so I figured that maybe we would do this a little early and talk about some of the reInvent announcements, right? So reInvent's, I guess, officially started today. I never quite know. But there's already been a huge number of announcements that have been made, and I thought that maybe we could just pick something and talk about it a little bit and play around with the code a little and see what we could figure out. So what caught my eye today was this great thread by Bridget Johnson, and they're talking about some new features of IAM Access Analyzer. So if you're not familiar with IAM Access Analyzer, it's a bunch of things, but one of the interesting features is that once it's enabled and you select what they call your zone of trust. So your zone of trust could be a single AWS account, or it could be an entire AWS organization, depending on your setup. It looks for anything that has access to or from outside of your zone of trust, right? So that could be the individual account or the entire organization. And there's some other things, checking for least privilege, grammar checking on your policies and stuff like that. But you see here, this is what caught my eye, a long thread here on the new features of IAM Access Analyzer, new gizmos. So let's have a look at these. First up, unused access findings. And we'll have a look at these. So why don't I just click that? We'll come back to it in a second. So now what you're able to do is use the Access Analyzer to find all of those unused access in your account, okay, and then identify them and work towards least privilege. That's always great. Right? There's new findings that are included in this one. So a big one is unused IAM access keys. We review a lot of AWS accounts, and I would say that the biggest challenge that most people have is that they end up with unused access credentials. So this is a big thing. So that'll be interesting to look for. There was something else that sort of jumped out at me here. Unused passwords and roles. So IAM roles is another thing. What we find with IAM roles is, first off, roles are better than anything else because it gives you, or it provides you with a mechanism to use temporary or provide temporary access to users, applications, whatever it might be. The challenge sometimes with roles is you can end up with what I'll call role creep. You get a lot of roles in your account, and many of them might not be used. So this should help you identify those as well. Okay. There's a new dashboard. We'll poke around in the console maybe, but I thought, two birds, one stone here. There's a bunch of new features with Code Whisperer as well. So I thought we could try to write some code and see how well that goes to kind of poke around in some of these features. So we'll have a look at that, and the thread goes on. So here, I'll share the thread, but interesting. Oh, and some of these things are paid features. We're going to turn them on to see what happens. Okay, but as is the case with every AWS service that you use, always make sure that you understand the costs before you turn them on. Okay, so let's go over here and have a look at, actually let's go over to the blog post. So here's the blog post, 2 new features. So Unused Access Analyzer, looking for roles and users, right, that have permissions granted but aren't used. That's fantastic. You've also got custom policy checking now, and this would be really interesting. I don't know if we can get to all of this tonight, but there's a couple new APIs that are available, if I'm remembering the Twitter thread properly, and you can use those commands in your pipelines. So I thought that was kind of neat. And then unused, we just talked about that, right? So let me share these links. Okay, so there's one. And here's the original thread. All right, so those are the couple things that we'll talk about. And then what I did was I very quickly, see if we can get this to work. There we go. I very quickly set up access to what we call our security account. So we've got a bunch of things all aggregating into this account. And is this the best way to do it? Probably not. But this was the quickest and easiest way that I could set this up, so I didn't have to share all of this information on stream, right? So instead I just created a quick JSON file, and I'm pulling all of those values in. And then just before we started the stream, what I did was I said run, let's go here, and we get this. Oh, sorry, it's changed screens because I'm using SSO. So what it's doing here is just asking me to authorize that request. So I'll go ahead and do that. And then what should happen in Python, nothing too fancy at this point, right? But we just have an exit code of 0. Okay. And I'm using, if you'll notice up here, I'm using from, this is Ben Kehoe, and this is something that I use all the time. It's just I find a really easy way to set up your SSO access if you've got that set up and you want to jump between different accounts. So let me share this as well, just so you have it. Let's throw that into the comments. There we go. Okay. All right. So I think the first thing that we need to look at, and let me just find this first, and then I'll change my screen share. Oops. Are some of the commands that we have access to in IAM. So let's find, oh, I'm already on IAM. Yeah, okay. And then in here, we want to look for Access Analyzer. Is it under here, or is it something is its own thing? Let's do this. Oh, it's its own thing. Here we go. Okay. The first thing we want to do is create our analyzer. So this is pretty simple. Oh, you know what I need to do? Because what I did on my little demo script, just to make sure things were working, I need to change the client first, because I was connecting to IAM, and we don't want to do that. We want to connect here, okay, to the Access Analyzer. And then what we need is just the basic stuff for creating an analyzer. And I toyed with the idea of doing this in CloudFormation. I was looking at the CloudFormation documentation, and it really didn't look like it supported everything that I wanted to do, or that I'm trying to do. And we might find the same thing here in Boto, just because this was just announced. I don't know if everything will be supported in here, but see this configuration, unused access and everything. This is what we're after, and as far as I could tell in the CloudFormation documentation, that wasn't there yet. So let's try to set this up and see what it does. Okay. So if we go over to back to PyCharm. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll just throw this all here. Create a new analyzer. So yeah, okay, this is also Code Whisperer. So Code Whisperer helping us out with this, and it's using our client connection to the Access Analyzer to create a new analyzer. And then from here, let's see, we don't actually, I think, let's flip back over here. The analyzer name is required, and then our type. And in our case, we want this is, remember I was mentioning kind of the zone of trust idea. So it can be account, organization, account unused access, or organization unused access. I'm going to use organization, I think. So let's go back over here. And we'll say, let me actually pull this documentation up in a different browser so I can see it at the same time. Let's drag that around somewhere that's easy to see. All right, so the first thing we need is the analyzer name. There we go. And let's call this the Twitch analyzer. And then we need the type, okay? And in this case, we want to make this an organization. So this is our zone of trust is the organization. That's fine. There is something called archive rules, and archive rules are a way that you can automate sort of the resolution of the findings. So once we turn this on, it will in very short order start, well, analyzing the IAM access permissions in our zone of trust. So in our case, the organization, and anything from outside of the organization that has access, it'll highlight that as a finding. And some of those are perfectly valid, right? You might be using SaaS tools and things like that have those connections. So what an archive rule allows you to do is automate those findings. So you could just say, hey, if X happens, that's okay, and it'll automatically archive that finding. We're not going to do that today, so I'll leave that as blank. We are going to set up some tags though. Oops. And I think what we need here is just string, key value pairs. So we'll just do something like this. We'll say, we usually do something like owner, and let's make it Twitch, okay? And then we'll say owner email is, I don't know, twitch@curiousorbit.com, okay, something like that. So we'll just create a couple tags, and then we're gonna do configuration. And this is also like this. Now, this is where we have to look this up. Okay, so here's what we're adding is this configuration piece. So we've got the configuration of the analyzer. If the analyzer is an unused access analyzer, the specified scope of unused access is used for the configuration. If the analyzer is an external, this field is not used. Do we have to maybe set up different analyzers? You know what I'll do? Let's do it like this instead. Let's just do this. Okay. And let's just see if this actually works, that we create an analyzer first. Because then what we can do is we can jump into the console and test a few things out and just see if it works and just how we configure this. So let's run this again. There we go. So we just created our access analyzer. Let me get logged into the account. Give me a second. Okay, so here we are, and if I go over to Access Analyzer, and that's interesting. Okay. Oh, I think I'm in the, I'm in the wrong region, I think. There we go. Okay, so if we go back to Access Analyzer, it's not showing us, oh, here it is. Some of the screens have changed. You used to get a different page, I think. So here's our external access analyzer, Twitch analyzer. Our zone of trust is the organization, and now it's kind of doing its thing here. So it looks like we need a second analyzer. So I can go under Analyzer Settings. Here's our Twitch analyzer, and this is it, right? So here's our zone of trust. So this is what they're going to call an external analyzer. And you can see here are our archive rules. We don't have anything there. Here are our tags. Okay. So I think then what we could do is, why don't we create, let's have a look at this. Create Unused Access Analyzer. So there's the two. Okay, yeah, so see here it says, let me zoom in a bit. This is what we just created, an external access analysis. So this scans resources within the zone of trust, and then we've got the unused access analysis or analyzer scanning for users and roles within the selected organization or account. Perfect. And then, yeah, it's going to include a charge for this. our tracking period, our region, current organization. Okay, so what we're going to do then, let's go back over here and let's do this. They called this an external analyzer. And then, I know it's not fancy, but it'll work. Create a unused analyzer. Okay. So let's do unused response. And now the type in this case needs to be organization unused access. So this will look across the entire organization. We'll use the same tags just to tag it. Okay, and now we have our configuration. And in this case, unused, I'm a little unclear here of what our options are. Because if we look in here, oh, okay, it's just a tracking period. That's it, the number of days. So specify the number of days for the tracking period. Findings will be generated for that access that hasn't been used in more than that specified number of days. Okay. So we're just going to say here, hey, Kevin, welcome back. We're actually going through an announcement today from reInvent. So we're looking at the new features of the IAM Access Analyzer. So we'll say unused access. And we're going to say unused access age. And we'll make it, why don't we make it 90 days like the example? Okay. And then we'll go here. Now, you know the one thing that's going to happen here. It's going to actually, this analyzer already exists, so it's going to throw an error here. This is really a quite silly way to do it, but let's just, I'm sure we could get something fancier here, but in the interest of just seeing if this works, we'll comment that out since we didn't understand what we were doing there. Let's try it. We'll run it again. All right, so now if we go back to the console and we go to Access Analyzer, let's see, where do we find all of our stuff? Okay, so there's our Twitch analyzer. So this is our external access analyzer and our unused access analyzer. And then what do we got here? This might take a bit of time. So this is the current organization again. Delete. Okay, so last scan is now. There we go. So we've got findings here. So again, this is our external analyzer. So you can see kind of what's in here. Right? Lots of interesting things. And then let's see if, do we get anything in here? Might take a little bit of time. So that's relatively painless to set up, right? You can see what did it take us. I know this is really basic, but that's what, 12 lines of simple code to set up an unused analyzer, and what, even less down up here, about what, 7 lines of code to set up the external analyzer. That's pretty slick. And like I said, the only thing I noticed in the CloudFormation documentation today, unless I overlooked it, it didn't look like it supported the new configuration for unused access. So that's why I decided to do it here. The other thing I wanted to look at is, why don't we go back to the blog post here. And they set up here, so custom policy checks, right? Validation that newly authored policies do not grant additional or perhaps unintended permissions. You can exercise tighter control over your policies and accelerate the process of moving AWS applications from development to production by adding automated policy reviews to your pipelines and custom policy tools. That's neat. So this is what we just looked at, the Unused Access Analyzer. Oh, look at the views you get. So maybe if we let this run a little longer, it'll kind of fill that out. There's the command. So this is basically what we did through Boto. Here's some other commands you can run. Now, here's what I was after. We can validate that IAM policies adhere to your security standards ahead of deployment and proactively detect non-conformant updates to policies. Let's start with the allow all SSM policy. So there we go. And what they're doing here is they're taking this policy and adding S3 star to it. And then when they click check access, there are charges for it, okay? But then what it's going to do is highlight that it found new access. Okay, and then this is what I'm after right here. So we've got CLI commands and API calls for this as well. There's also another command and function that is designed to be used in your pipelines, CloudFormation hook and custom policy hooks. So check access not granted accepts a policy document and a permission such as S3 get and checks to make sure that policy does not grant the permission. You could use this, for example, to make sure your policy specifies that Security Hub should not be disabled, or let me read that again. To make sure that a policy which specifies that Security Hub should not be disabled cannot be deployed. To help you move from development to production with confidence. Okay, so I think what they're saying is there'd be an IAM action for Security Hub to disable Security Hub. So what you could do is you could run this in your pipeline to make sure that the IAM action for Security Hub isn't included in your policy statement. I think that's what they mean. So let's see if we can build something like this. How can we do this? Here, I'm gonna dump everybody back into here and just bear with me a second to see if I've got a project we could use for this. Yeah, we do. Okay. So bear with me a second and let me just get this set up. So I'm going to move you back over here as I get this set up. Maybe I'm in the right place. Hang on one second. So I set this up earlier today, so let's just see if we can get this running. All right, so here's what I'm doing. I just pulled the project down, and we'll just do git ignore, and yeah, that's fine. And we'll say, just ignore that. I think that'll work. Yeah, that's all grayed out now. Okay, I don't want to commit that. That's all we'll worry about today. So let's do it like this. We're gonna say file. Actually, we'll put it in a CloudFormation directory since now I've got things mixed together here. What I thought we could do is sort of simulate this. So we'll say IAM.YAML, and let's see here. We've got template. This is another thing. Template format version Now this was another update that was announced today for Code Whisperer. Let's see if we can find that. Hang on a second. They announced a bunch of things for Code Whisperer. Let's have a quick look. Okay. Is this the one that I wanted? Yeah, here it goes. Including support for infrastructure as code. So it says here, developers can now receive suggestions in completion of AWS CloudFormation, YAML or JSON, CDK, and HashiCorp Terraform. So how do we do this? This is basically just the page to get started. Okay, well, I wonder if it'll just work if we go back over here. I'm missing something here. Oh, look. Did it disconnect me, maybe? What's that say? Connected to tools. Reconnect. It's weird that it's saying MFA. Let's try this. We're going to say sign out. Here, let me just flip you back over here for a second. Let me get re-authenticated. Yeah, totally. I don't know what just happened there. Give me a sec. Okay. So we're connected again here. So let's go like this. Create a CloudFormation template to deploy an S3 bucket. Yeah. Here, let's try something else. Let's just do this. Yeah, that's working. So what are we missing? Could it be like, does it have to be like something like this? Create an S3 bucket using CloudFormation. Nope. Does it need to be like that? All right. So how do we get this to work? Let's clean these up. I wonder if there is an AWS blog post for this that would show us how to get started. Give me a second here. And this just takes us back to this same page. We're using JetBrains. It supports the terminal, which we did the other day. This is what we were looking at before. Just getting connected, which we've done already. Yeah, I don't see anything in here. Well, let's just create this then. We'll just create a simple template. Kind of stuck at this point, so let's go this way. So let's close these down. We don't need any of this right now. All right, and then what we'll do is, sorry, you know what? You'd think by now I'd know this, but I can never remember the structure of the table, or of the file. Okay, so we need, I don't even know if you need this, but let's get rid of that. Right, so we need a template version. Let's see. Format version is optional. And there's only one value that's usable here, which is this. And then there's, I think, a description. Yeah, it's just a string. So a sample template to test the new IAM Access Analyzer features, right? And we're going to create, we'll call this a Twitch managed policy. Okay, so let's look up what we need to add to our managed policy. Okay, so description. We won't give it a name or anything. We need our policy document, and I'll just check the format of this one because it's another one that you can never seem to remember. So it's got a version statement. It's always this, and then we're going to say statement. So we'll do this SID. So statement ID is our first permissions statement, okay, and its effect will be allow, and we're just going to do, we'll kind of mimic what was in the blog post, so we'll say action S3 star, okay, and we'll say resource, we'll say star. Not a great policy, okay. Basically we're allowing whatever we assign this, all S3 actions on all the S3 resources. Not a great example, but it'll work for today. Okay, so there's that. Roles and users. So this is all we really need for this. And then what we'll do, actually let's pull this out of here. I know this will be a little odd looking, but it'll do the trick for what we need today. So we're going to put this in a CI script, and I'll just borrow something from one of our earlier demos. Let's grab something like this. This is from what we were working on last week, our multi-region stuff. So So we'll call this reInvent IAM Analyzer. This can go to, what did I call it, just so we can find it later. Oh, IAM Access Analyzer. That makes sense. All right, we'll deploy it like we always do into our demo account. We'll run a simple validation script, which will be just that. There's no path. Okay. You know what? We won't even worry about the include script, so we'll just do this. Deploy stage validate, or sorry, stage deploy. And oh yeah, I'm gonna get I'll get this off of last week's project as well. I'll just grab a little snippet of the code that we need. Right, so blah, like this. Okay, and we called this deploy. There are no stage variables, so we'll just call this reInvent IAM. And get rid of all the path. Okay, that should work. We're not passing region information in here, so let's get rid of that. Let's see what this does if we commit it. Yeah, so we got a simple validation, then we got our deploy statement. Okay. Let's get rid of this. And we'll go back to our demo project. Let's see how bad our CI script is here. So we'll watch the pipeline. Let's get rid of a bunch of these now. We don't need them. Hey, look, that's pretty good. I think I did close. Oh, we weren't in our demo account, were we? So let me get logged into the demo account. We can go to CloudFormation. Here's our reInvent IAM. Here's something else we're going to check out. Remind me before the stream's over. We'll see if we can maybe do this week as well. So we'll go here. Pretty simple policy, so hopefully we can get it on the first try. There we go. Okay, so we've got, this is our new managed policy. And it's a doozy, right? Basically allow all S3 actions. Perfect. Now, oh, I closed the blog post. Give me a second to pull it back up. See if I can find it quickly. Control tower, inspector agent list. There were so many announcements today. Is it? No, I guess a lot of these were. Yeah, I guess a lot of them were sort of still pre-invent announcements. Because today's the 27th, and most of these came out, I think, yesterday. Let me see if I can find it. I won't be able to find it now. Hang on. Google will work for us. Here we go. Okay, so this is, I don't think this is actually what we looked at before, was it? It wasn't. Hang on. This is good though. Let me share this in chat so that you can find it later. This is the one that I was after. This is the one from yesterday. This is Jeff Barr. So we were looking at the custom policy check. So if we scroll down and we go custom policy check, so there's the two pieces, right? We can use where is it? Oh, right here. Check no new access. Let's have a look for this. So check no new access. This is the command. I wonder how we could work this into our pipeline. The new policy document, the existing policy document. Policy document to use for the updated policy, policy document to use for the existing policy. Okay, and then identity policies are policy documents that are created and maintained within IAM, and then a resource policy is still a policy document, right? But the resource policy is created in a specific AWS service like S3 as an example. I wonder if this, the other announcement that I shared, or the other document that we pulled up, it looked like more of a technical blog post. I wonder if they show some, oh, that's Jeff Barr again. This one. I wonder if there's some examples here. So here's our existing policy doc. This is going to show us exactly, there's our new policy doc, and then run this command. Okay. That's fine, but how do we do this in GitLab? This one is pretty basic. The access the check access not granted. So let's do this. So you know in the Jeff Barr post, he mentioned like looking for a permission that would stop the security hub service. So let's see, what's the action that does that? Describe hub. Enable security hub. You'd think there'd be, they're right here, disable security hub. So this is what the API call that you would use to disable the security hub service. So what we could do is in our script here, we could do something like this. Before script, AWS Access Analyzer. Let me just find the doc for this. So we were looking for check access not granted. Okay. So we could do this, check access not granted -- policy document. So we could see a -- policy document, and in this case it's IAM.YAML. And then let me just pull this over here so I can see it at the same time. Then we could say access, and the access example was what? I think it's just, yeah, so the service and then the action. So in this case, it's going to be security hub. And what did I say? Disable security hub? Not security hug, security hub. Let me just check that. Yeah, so security hub is the service identifier, and that's all lowercase. And then we have disable security hub in camel case, which we have here. Okay, and then we're going to say -- let's put this on a new line, -- profile, and we'll use that in the same place, right? So before running our deploy, we're going to check that a certain access is not granted in this document, and in that case, we're looking for this. Let's run this and see what it does. Okay, let's push that. Go back over to our pipeline. Oh, there we go. Kevin, you're here. You should have known what I was going to do wrong, right? Can't spell. Oh, sorry, I went here. Sorry, I'm on the wrong screen. I went here and just changed this. So let's go back over here and try it again. Haven't had a spelling error in a while, actually. I was feeling good there for a bit. Oh, did we have another error? Oh, you know what it is? We need to probably update the CLI, the AWS CLI, because this would have been changes, right? So this would have been, let's do this. I can't show you this config because it's on a server that I can't share, but what I'm gonna do, it's Monday. Yeah, typos don't count on Monday. Okay, let's go for it. All I'm gonna do is update. We're just gonna run this right here. So this should update my CLI. So just bear with me a second. This one I'm not gonna share. Let me just run this command. See if that's the problem here. Ooh, I better be careful. Is this okay? It's not an ARM processor, so I can use just our 64-bit config, and then let me just run this and see what it does. So we've got version 213. Give me a sec here. It's not liking our install for some reason. I gotta be careful because this is actually our GitLab instance we use for other things. Replace. Oh, I see what it's doing. Hang on. Okay. There we go. And then we can run the install command. Sorry, I know this isn't very fun to watch, but it's just a tough one to share. Oh, -- update. Okay, so then if we do AWS -- version, we have 214 now. All right, so let me close these windows down. And then if we go back over here and run the pipeline again, let's see if it works now. Just rerun this stage. It still didn't like it. Oh, -- policy type. Okay, that's better though, right? Progress. We forgot that in here I needed to say -- policy type. And then there were two options, which I already forget. Identity policy or resource policy. So that looks like this. Okay. Expected equals. Access. Oh, I think I'm just supposed to say actions equal. I'm just checking the example again. Oh, yeah. So it's access. Yeah. Okay. Little RTFM moment. So this here, access actions equals like that. That's the syntax. Let me see, make sure that I did this right. Access action equals and then a list. Okay. Let's try this one. The policy and policy document is invalid. You know what it is? It's expecting a JSON document. Let's have a look at this. Let me pull up this guy here. Oops, sorry. I was already in the right spot right here. So check access not granted, policy document, blah, JSON. We're passing a YAML doc in there, like a CloudFormation doc. Maybe it doesn't support that? Yeah, see, they're just passing in the JSON doc, whereas we're passing in that. So how could we do this? Yeah, see, when I just read CI/CD, I was immediately like, oh, we just integrated into our pipeline, yay. Doesn't necessarily. Okay, so here, this is into our developer workflow. CloudFormation template. Okay. The workflow will initiate each time a pull request is created against repository. The check uses the API. Okay, so we got to use the API instead. It's more permissive than, should check to determine if the updated policy is more permissive than the reference policy. The second check uses this to automatically check for critical permissions. Okay, so let's see how they do this. That's a CDK project. And they're building a whole pipeline. Okay, so let's go have a look at this project. Just check this. Okay, so here's their script. So CFN policy validator. Check if less permissive. There's our template path, reference file. So they've got a reference policy document. So we still need this JSON document. Right, and then we get our finding back the result of this. If it's pass, we continue. If it's fail, we don't. Let's have a look at, let's go over and have a look at something in So what we've got here is, this is our reference policy. These are our sensitive actions, right? So then there's the service. Let me zoom in a bit. So there's the service identifier. There's the action. So that COBA use the file command. So they're dumping that into an S3 bucket. Okay, so they're just running an S3 command. And then here's where they're setting our pipeline up. What is this doing? Creating a CloudFormation template that defines a policy. There's our sample. So in this case, then in the demo here, they're adding a new command, DynamoDB delete, which would then cause it to fail, right? Because that's not in our, it's in those sensitive action file. The thing that I don't get, if we go back up here, when we looked in, where was it? Here. So here's their check script. What is this? So they've got the IAM policy validator for CloudFormation. And this is what's actually doing the work then. How do they refer to it here? So check if less permissive. But then how do they do the other one? Yeah, I'm going to have to poke around on this one a little bit more and see if we can figure it out. There's got to be a way to do it, right? So here are our commands. Validate it. There we go. So these are new. Check no new access. That's the one that we talked about earlier. Check access not granted. Right here. Okay, so this I'd have to be a little more careful of because I'd have to install this into our CI server, which we can do. I just don't know if I should do it right now. Well, I think I'll err on the side of caution on this one and just well, be careful on what I install on that runner. Maybe instead what we could do is set up a new runner and test it there just to see how it works. Here, I'm going to flip you back over here. Give me 1 second to check something on that server. Maybe it's already there and I just don't recall. If it's already there, then we could just update it. Give me a sec. Better safe than sorry. Yeah, tomorrow I'll want to do something and it won't work. Yeah, so it's not here. I'll install this. Maybe later in the week we can come back and see how this would work in our pipeline. But I think what we're going to do is a couple shorter streams this week. So we made it through the first sort of interesting update and had a look at a couple of the new features of the analyzer. Actually, you know what we didn't do? 1 sec. Let me get logged back into the other account. We didn't actually see if the analyzer, the second analyzer that we created, actually had some findings. Let me have a look here. There we go. We did get some findings. So have a look. If I flip back here, so this is our unused access finding, and you can see we've got unused roles and permissions, right? And then it shows you the accounts. This is our little demo account that we use for a lot of stuff, so I'm not surprised. So now what you could do is you could go through this and find the old stuff that, you know, yeah, look at, see our demo account here. Lots of things get deployed here and then not a great cleanup job is done. So we could use this information to go back later on and actually clean things up. Maybe this is an example of something we could do in the future to do some cleanup, like a cleanup script or something like that. Or yeah, it might be interesting to see how this works. I think I'll call it here, folks, but we'll be back. What I'm thinking I might do this week is, because I've got a little bit of reInvent FOMO happening, maybe just trying to find some different announcements that are interesting that we could do a quick stream on, and just may or may not work, but just kind of poke around a little bit and try out some new things. So tomorrow I'm teaching a class from 12 till 8 p.m. Eastern. So one of two things will happen. We'll have late stream tomorrow after class, or I might do an early stream before class, depending on sort of some of the announcements that come out between now and sort of class time tomorrow. So keep an eye on LinkedIn and Twitch. We'll just kind of wing it as we go through the week and see what happens. But for now, enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll see you soon. Yeah, Kevin, we'll do a podcast review on Friday. We're going to do a couple, actually. I'm hoping to get a couple people from AWS to join us. They won't be here on Friday, but maybe in a couple weeks we'll kind of do a review session. But Travers and I will be back on Friday, and we're going to try to gather up a reasonable number of announcements that are going to happen here over the next 5 days, and pull together sort of a quick 30-45 minute podcast on Friday. So yeah, we'll be back. Okay, awesome. So as always, folks, thanks for hanging out with me for just over an hour tonight. We will see you later. Bye for now.